Welcome back. Well, the last group of climbers for the annual Trek4Mandela are back, called the Superwoman climb. They summited Kilimanjaro on Women's Day. Their mission was to honor those who fought for the liberation of all women, and they aim to liberate even more women, those trapped particularly in period poverty. The group is raising funds to provide menstrual support and hygiene to thousands in the country as well as continent. Sina Moyane is one of the brave young women to have conquered Kilimanjaro, and she joins us in the studio now for the conversation. Sina, first of all, I think congratulations are due for you for being able to summit. It's quite a feat, I can imagine. But how was it? Talk to us a little bit about the experience of the climb itself. And I did test Morena for saying I'll never do this. I mean, maybe in my next life. But how was it?
Well, firstly, a very good morning to you, Faith, and to your viewers. Thank you very much for having me on your show this morning. It was an incredible experience. I think challenging yourself physically and mentally, to reach the highest peak in Africa, but more so doing so for a cause. To help girls with period poverty and essentially keep them in school. It's an overwhelming experience.
Yeah, I can imagine that the cause is greater than even feeling the pain. The preparation for the climb.
Yes.
Many would say that it's often the difficult part because you have to almost train your body and condition your mind for what is about to happen.
Absolutely.
How was that?
So it's a 6 to 8 month training program that we do, and it is a long process essentially.
Yeah.
It involves compulsory hiking sessions that take place. You have a personal training program as well that you do, and then also just the mental preparation. You have conversations with people who've done it many a time before. Our Trek4Mandela expedition leader, the renowned mountaineer, Mr. Spusiso Vilani, was doing it for his 32nd time, for example, with us. So we really do have a team of experienced people that help the climbers each and every single day as they build towards reaching the highest peak in Africa.
Were there any moments where you felt that this is really hard? I know that as soon as you start getting into a higher altitude, the oxygen level becomes a little bit more diminished.
Yes.
You have to be able to conserve the little air that you've got. But talk to us a little bit about some of those experiences. I think sometimes we underestimate just how much you're facing from an environmental perspective.
Absolutely. Well, with me personally, it was interesting. I was doing very well until we got to summit camp. And then I started experiencing altitude illness, which specifically nausea. So that for me was the hardest moment. We were about 4,720 meters above sea level, and then obviously making our way up to Uhuru Peak. So it was in that moment for me when we started on summit night where it was difficult. But like you said, you've got a bigger picture in mind. You're climbing for the girl children. So you just keep pushing yourself until you reach the top.
Nausea?
Yes.
Oh. Goodness. Listen. and that moment, that day, because there's a very significant day as well in the country.
Yes.
Women's Day, and
Yes.
being able just to speak to, being a woman and being able to do this and conquer Kilimanjaro.
Absolutely.
But on that day, talk to us a little bit about the experience of the climb on that day and when you finally got to say, okay, yes, we did it.
So we started summiting at 11:15 that evening.
Okay.
And all you have is a headlamp, and you see your hiking boots and the hiking boots of the person in front of you. And it's a very slow walk as you walk up to the top. And we summited for about 7 hours.
You were walking for 7 hours straight?
Yeah, 7 hours straight until we reached the first point, which is Gilman's Point, and that's when the sun started rising. So you get to the top and you look up and you think to yourself, this is absolutely incredible. I can't believe I've been doing this throughout the night. And then you look and you've got your next point, which is Stella Point, and then Uhuru Peak. So you just keep pushing yourself, you keep going, and when you reach Uhuru Peak, it's the most overwhelming feeling. I mean, a lot of us women were crying at that moment because now we had been summiting for 10 hours and you finally reach your goal and your destination. And a very big congratulations to all the women who successfully joined the Trek4Mandela August expedition and managed to summit successfully.
Listen, a big congratulations to them, because I hear you. Whoo, my goodness. I just, at the bigger cause for this.
Yes.
Is around ending period poverty.
Yes.
And I think that what is sad is that we've got condoms that are easily available. And they can be available for free, and they can be available at dispensaries and in some even public toilets, lavatories and the likes. Something as simple as a sanitary towel, we're not there yet. Somewhere, somehow, there's a gross injustice between being able to cover the biological needs of a woman, is something that happens every month, and versus, condoms. Not to say that it's important, it's not important to have safe sex, but it's just almost, you wonder why is it that you can't have freely available sanitary towels and freely available condoms?
Absolutely, and you know, it's a very big predicament, and that's why what we do is so significant, even more so now as South Africans. I mean, cost of living is increasing, levels of unemployment are increasing, the inequality gap also keeps increasing, so it's even more paramount now than before that we, you know, come together and form collaborative efforts to uplift communities. And what you're saying is very true. I mean, when you go to schools and you hear girls say things like, I'm so glad that you guys are here so that I don't have to use newspapers this month, or I don't have to use a sock this month, you know, and that's it's that moment of realization when you come to terms with the reality of what many girls are going through and how this can even be a hindrance for them getting quality education. And that's essentially why we do what we do at the Caring for Girls program, is to empower girl children, keep them in school. And there are some schools that are supposed to be receiving assistance from government, but unfortunately that's not happening. So we have to create means to provide for these young girls to ensure that we alleviate period poverty.
You know, as we're speaking about this, it's very difficult to be able to sink your mind that this is happening within what a country that is regarded as somewhat more developed, right? We're supposed to be almost the beacon of hope, you know, for how the continent needs to grow and the trajectory and infrastructure. We're so good at having infrastructure and the tall buildings and the cities and never mind the load shedding, but when it comes to the very basics of humanity, I feel like we're just still lagging behind. And I don't know how, and initiatives as this, which have been going on for a long time, are great in being able to put almost a spotlight and cast a spotlight to it, because otherwise we don't. We forget the fact that some girls, many girls in this country, still have to use newspapers every month because of something that it's biological. They can't stop it. And yet we do not cast as much of a spotlight onto it as we do with certain other elements. How do we take better accountability and responsibility as society? Because I think it really is. We've got a bigger role to play here, especially when it comes to being able to tackle why is it that condoms are free, but pads are not.
Yes, absolutely, and I think that it has to be done through collaborative efforts, Faith. It's something that, you know, each and every single person can do within their individual capacity, but in order for you to have scale, it has to be through collaborative efforts. We're very proud that through our Trek4Mandela program, as well as through our corporate donors, we've supported over 1.5 million girls and counting, but that's still not enough, you know, and whenever we do menstrual hygiene dialogues at schools, we also involve the boy children, because it's something that will affect them. I mean, they will have wives, they will have daughters, you know, sisters, and it's basically trying to normalize the conversation, firstly. Secondly, removing the misconceptions and stigmas associated with it, and then forming those collaborative efforts to provide girls with period safety and menstrual protection.
Well, I really do hope you are able to open up the conversation even bigger and perhaps even garner more support from sponsors, donors, those who want to support the initiative, because it really is. It's a really great initiative, and congratulations for being able to summit Mount Kilimanjaro. My goodness, listen.
Thank you very much.
The brave in being able to do so, and we really do appreciate your time this morning.